As you can see from here, our today's topic is linear momentum, and from that Newton's second law. Okay, this is chapter 3 of class 9, chapter 3 and unit C. Okay, so this is chapter 3 unit C of class 9. Linear momentum. Now what is linear momentum? Do you know what is momentum? So basically linear momentum is linear momentum, and that is denoted by p. Linear momentum denoted by small letter p, that is equal to product of mass into velocity. So product of mass into velocity is known as the linear momentum. Okay, so how to define linear momentum? Linear momentum of a body is the product of mass and its velocity. So we can write from here p, that is equal to mass into velocity. So this is linear momentum, where m is the mass and v is the velocity. And let me tell you, this linear momentum is a vector quantity. This is a vector quantity. So this linear momentum is a vector quantity. Okay, so what is its unit? You will tell me what is its unit. If I talk about its SI unit, so what will be its SI unit? Very simple. Its SI units basically unit of p, that is equal to unit of mass multiplied by unit of velocity. So what is units of mass? Kg. And what is the unit of velocity? Meter per second. So kg meter per second is the SI unit of linear momentum. What will be its CGS unit? You have to calculate what is the CGS unit. Pause the video and calculate it. Okay, I hope you have done it. So this is gram centimeter per second, because gram is the unit of mass and velocity, that is of centimeter per second. So these are the units of linear momentum. Okay, now another thing we have to done, that is change of linear momentum. Change of linear momentum. How to change linear momentum? Let's say p is the momentum. Now when this p momentum, linear momentum will change, when this momentum will change, when we shall change the mass, then momentum can be changed. Again, when we shall change the velocity, then the momentum can be changed. Okay, but in most of the cases mass remain constant, right? Suppose this is an object, of mass m, and it is moving with velocity v. It is moving with velocity v. So maybe its velocity can be changed, but will its mass be changed? Of course, if we take a fixed object, its mass will not be changed. So we can take mass as a constant. But there are some cases where mass can be changed. I can give some example. Let's say the motion of a rocket. In case of rocket motion, the mass changes. Okay, I shall give you another example, like the velocity of electron or protons or some fundamental particle in atom or nuclei. Okay, this type of particle may change its mass. I shall give you another example, but right now we are talking about the change of linear momentum. So how the change of linear momentum occur? I am writing it as delta p. So what is this meaning of delta? This meaning of delta means small change. So this delta denote the small change. Okay, so delta p equal to, we can write delta of mass into velocity. But I have just told you mass is a constant. So as mass is the constant, so mass will not change, right? As the mass will not change, so mass will come out and delta v. So this is the change in linear momentum. So from here we can write delta p equal to mass into delta v. So to calculate the change in momentum, we have to calculate the change in velocity. Is it clear? Now I am giving you an example. Let's say a particle is moving with a velocity which is approximately comparable to the velocity of light. Okay, what is the velocity of light? We know the velocity of light, that is denoted by c, and that is equal to 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Okay, and I am talking about a velocity, that's mean v, which is approximately comparable to, this velocity 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Then according to Einstein, mass also change. if a particle moves with velocity which is comparable to light, then mass will change. So mass will change according to this formula, m equal to m naught root over 1 minus v square by c square. What is this m naught? This m naught is the mass of that object, let's say this object, when the object is at rest, and this m is the velocity of the mass, m is the mass of that object when the velocity is v. Is it clear? So basically you don't need this formula, okay, but it is just mentioned in your book. Okay, but let me tell you one thing. In case of particles which we always see around us, there, for that case v is very less than c. V is very less than c. So that is why v square by c square very less than 1. So in that case m is approximately equal to m naught. So that's mean basically this mass and this mass are equal. So that is why we take mass as a constant quantity. Is it okay? So this is the change in momentum. Now we shall talk about the rate of change. Rate of change means time rate of change. We shall talk about time rate of change. Time rate of change. Let's say the momentum is changing. The momentum is changing, and the momentum and the change is taking place during the time delta t. During the time delta t, let's say the change is taking place. So what is the rate of change? So during delta t time it is changes by delta p. So during unit time it is delta p by delta t. This is rate of change. This is rate of change. Okay, so from here we can write m into delta v by delta t. You may ask me, sir, why you are taking delta t? I am taking a small time interval basically. Okay, I am taking a small time interval. Okay, so this is a form. And another thing I shall tell you, this mass and this is the rate of change of velocity. So rate of change of velocity, that is equal to acceleration. Last chapter we have done this. Okay, so rate of change of velocity, that is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, so this is equal to mass into acceleration, where this a is the acceleration. So this is a process. We can follow another process here. What is this process? Let's say an object, this is an object moving with velocity u, having mass m, and after some time t, we are applying a force on it, F, and for that after a time t its velocity become v. Mass is the same. So what is the initial momentum? Mass into acceleration. From definition, momentum equal to mass into velocity. So initial momentum is mass into velocity. Mu is the mass, initial momentum. What is the final momentum? That is mass into velocity, m into v. So what is the change in momentum? I am taking this is as p1 and this is as p2. Initial momentum, final momentum. So what is the change in momentum? So change in momentum, that is equal to p2 minus p1. And that is equal to, we can write mv minus mu, m into v minus u. Now what is the rate of change of momentum? Nothing but you have to divide with this time t. So rate of change, that is equal to change by t, means m into v minus u by t. Okay, and this v minus u by t, that is equal to acceleration. That's mean rate of change of velocity, so acceleration. So this is nothing but an alternative process of the same thing. Basically this is delta v equal to v minus u. So I am writing here delta v equal to v minus u. Change in velocity, I have just told you, a small change in velocity. Is it okay? So up to this okay na? Okay, now we shall go for the next topic. So that is the original thing we wanted to do here, that is Newton's second law. So second law. So what is Newton's second law? To know Newton's second law, actually we have to know the statement of Newton's second law. First I shall tell you the statement. It is saying that the rate of change of momentum What is this? The rate of change of momentum. That's mean this thing. The rate of change of momentum of a body is proportional to the applied force. What I'm saying? The rate of change of momentum of a body is proportional to the applied force. So if that is proportional to the rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum means m into a. Is it clear? So rate of change of momentum basically m into a, m into a. So I'm writing rate of change of momentum, that is m into a. So from here what we can write? From here we can write F is proportional to m. From here we can write F is proportional to a. Force is proportional to mass, force is proportional to acceleration. Now if we plot to graph, let's say along this direction I am plotting acceleration, and along this direction I am plotting force. So when you are applying a force on an object, how its acceleration will change? The acceleration will change like this. If mass is constant, the acceleration will change like this. Okay, similarly mass is also directly proportional to the force. So from here we can draw another graph. Suppose force is and mass is along this direction, and here acceleration is constant, then also this type of graph we shall got. Nothing but this is a linear relation, right? F to the power 1 is proportional to a to the power 1, f to the power 1 is proportional to, that is why this graph is like this. Already we have discussed in one dimensional motion. You can watch the video how this graph is this linear. Okay, but in case of if force is constant, then how mass and acceleration changes? If force is constant, then we can say that mass is inversely proportional to the acceleration. So if the object is heavy, we have to give more force to increase its acceleration. Okay, so that is it is inversely proportional. So let's say I am plotting acceleration along this direction, mass along this direction, and as this is non-linear relation basically, because m is proportional to a to the power minus 1, this is reciprocal, so minus 1, so it will we will got a graph like this, where f is constant quantity. Is it okay? So these three graphs are basically important. Okay, now from this equation what we are getting from this equation, so we have got here f is proportional to ma, so we must bring a constant, so f equal to k into m into a. Now we shall take this constant, proportionality constant k, as 1. Actually basically this is experimental value, not experimental value, this is a value calculated actually, but we shall take here k equal to 1. Actually this is force constant and becomes 1. To get k equal to 1, Newton does lot of work and we shall not do it again. Actually this is beyond our scope. Okay, so that is why we shall only calculate k equal to 1. So when k equal to 1, what we will get? F equal to m into a. So F equal to ma. This is the mathematical form of Newton's second law. So this is the mathematical form of Newton's second law. So what is Newton's second law? Newton's second law is, according to Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force applied on it. This rate of change of momentum directly proportional to the force applied on it, and the change in momentum takes place in the direction in which the force is applied. What that means? Suppose an object is moving along this direction. Let's say this is an object is moving along this direction. If we applied a force along this direction, so the object will move along this direction. So the rate of change of momentum takes place along that direction to which the force is acting. Okay, now if you push the pen along this direction, it will move along this direction. Now suppose this is a thing, you are pushing it along this direction, so it will move along this direction. If you push it along this direction, so the change will take at that direction to which the force is acting. Okay, so basically this is Newton's second law. So from here we can get another relation. Basically this m into a equal to delta p delta t. So we can write here another form. We can write another form here, m into a, that is equal to delta p delta t. So F equal to, we can write delta p by delta t, that is force equal to rate of change of momentum. Force equal to rate of change of momentum. This is another form. From here we can write another line, F equal to delta of mass into velocity by delta t, because P equal to mv, we got P equal to mv, mass into velocity. Is it okay? So this is Newton's second law. Okay. Okay. Now we shall get third law, Newton's third law from Newton's second law. Okay. Before that, Newton's first law from Newton's second law. So Newton's first law, how to get Newton's first law? Look at this equation. Look at this equation. So from here we can get this equation also. So instead of rate of change, we can put this. So F equal to m into v minus u by t. What was Newton's first law? If we do not apply force from outside, last day I told you, if we do not apply a force from outside, that's mean if F equal to 0, then an object which was at rest will be at rest, and the object which was moving will continue its motion. That's mean that was the inertia. So if F equal to 0, what we got? If F equal to 0, we got m into v minus u by t equal to 0. So that's mean we got v minus u equal to 0. So that means v equal to u. That's mean the initial velocity and final velocity will be same. That's mean if the velocity is at rest, that's mean if u equal to 0, v equal to 0. And if the velocity is uniform, then that will be uniform. That's mean final velocity, initial velocity will be same. Is it okay? And there are some examples in your book. Okay, I shall give a photo of that. Okay, you will read from that book. What type of example are basically here? While catching a cricket ball, okay, the cricketer withdraw his hand along with the ball. Right now, when you are catching a ball is coming and you take your hand like this. You take your hand like this. Why you take your hand like this? Because we just decrease the rate of change of momentum. We just decrease the rate of change of momentum. How? Basically the formula is like this: F equal to m into v minus u by t. So when we give more time to catch the ball, then the force will decrease. That means our hand will be safe. We shall not be hurted, right? Because the ball can fracture our hand. But if we increase the time, and it is denominator, so the amount of force exerted by the ball will decrease. So that is why we just do this. That's mean we are giving more time to decrease its velocity. But you are straighting your hand, the ball is just stuck on your hand, your finger will broke. Is it clear? That's why we give more time. Okay, and there is another example. Athletes often lands on sand or foam after taking a high jump. So when someone giving a high jump or long jump, they generally land on sand, right? Because the sand also, this type of phenomena happened there. It gives more time to change the momentum. Okay, because the sand is soft here actually. There is another example, when the glass vessels fall on a hard floor that break, but they do not break when they fall on a carpet, right? When a glass fall on a hard floor, it breaks, but if it fall here on a carpet, it will not break. The same thing happen here. This is the hard surface, but this is a soft surface. This will give you more time to decrease its velocity. Okay, so whatever, read the example from the book. This is from page number 64-65 of Concise Physics. Okay, so thank you. This is the end of today's class. On next class we shall discuss about third law. Thank you.